about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOC-DALI. So marijuana use is rampant now that multiple states have it available for not only medicinal use, but recreational use. Marijuana is being used by men, women, teenagers. It's in the form of gummies, edibles, smoking. And understandable. This has been something that recreationally people have used for decades, and it's kind of the new alcohol in terms of kids getting access to that. It's more exciting, and it's caused a lot of complications. But what nobody is talking about is these young women who are using it. What happens if they get pregnant? Now, we've taught everybody to not use marijuana when pregnant. But what if you used it before you got pregnant? Will that cause complications to the baby? Will that cause complications to you? And so more and more experts are recommending to ditch the pot, especially before pregnancy. If you're trying to conceive, we know that marijuana use could limit fertility for both men and women. So young people are using marijuana so ubiquitously now. It's probably one of the most common drugs, and it's still expensive till it gets cheaper than booze. But now that booze is getting more expensive, we'll see what happens in terms of its use even rising. But we don't know all the risks involved. And if you're using it before you get pregnant, there could be some serious side effects. So CNN is reporting on this, as well as multiple other outlets. As you know, marijuana can cause a variety of adverse outcomes: low birth weight, preterm birth, higher admissions rates to the neonatal ICU in babies who had been flooded with it during the pregnancy. But using it before you're pregnant could increase risk of life-threatening maternal complications like gestational hypertension, preeclampsia. These are disorders of the high blood pressure. Preeclampsia could also lead to organ damage. And so we do not want, and how does it do it? Well, it could be because of the inflammatory effect. When you smoke something, it doesn't necessarily have to have a stimulant, although some marijuana are stimulating when you have your sativa strains. But it also is the inflammatory component. And when the body detects something that it kind of doesn't want, it sometimes will clamp up. And so these are things that you need to be aware of. And they say that pregnant individuals who used versus did not use early during pregnancy had a 17% greater risk of gestational hypertension, 8% greater risk of preeclampsia. People who used marijuana in early pregnancy had a 19% greater risk of placental abruption, which could be very life-threatening. Your placenta provides the oxygen and the nutrients to the fetus. It could detach suddenly. It's called abrupto placenta. Endanger the mom, heavy bleeding, endanger the life of the fetus. And they say that detached or abrupto placenta is one of the leading causes of death in both expectant mothers and babies. When you hear discussions on abortions needing to be done to save the life of the mother, and people are asking, but what conditions? Placental abruption might be one of the conditions where they are trying to save the life of the mom because the placenta has detached. And so oftentimes we'll try to still deliver the baby, save the mom, protect the baby also. I mean, if the baby's preterm enough to be able to have the baby in the neonatal ICU, etc. But that's one of the conditions being cited. So marijuana before you're pregnant, that's very hard to quantify because many people don't realize they're pregnant until weeks in. How many of you drank or smoked or did something you probably shouldn't have? And then all of a sudden you're told you're pregnant and you're like, no, okay, then I guess I better stop. Did you use a medicine you weren't supposed to? I mean, as soon as we find out you're pregnant, we ask the medications you use. We look at the alcohol use. We look at your caffeine use. We look at your smoking. We look at your recreational drugs. And then we make recommendations. And usually when it comes to marijuana, we're like, no, you're done. No. And unfortunately, there's people who get nauseated and they're like, oh, okay, I'll use marijuana because I'm kind of nauseous. Did they think to do a pregnancy test? And so if you are at all sexually active or planning to start a family soon, you should probably consider ditching the pot now. And I fear that the more marijuana use is commonplace, where you come home from work, you smoke a joint, you drink alcohol, or you take your whatever, then it's going to be a harder habit for people to break. So recreational marijuana used to be, all right, well, we're going to go, and I understand Cheech and Chong was an exception to the rule, but there's a party, there's a game, it'll be Friday night or Saturday night. We have changed that now where people are using marijuana for daily sleep, for daily coping. Many people are using their marijuana to control some of their other symptoms. Now that people don't have regular doctors and they're using telemedicine and maybe they don't have good health care or their deductibles are too high, they're using marijuana to treat a lot of their anxiety, depression symptoms where they can't live without it. And when I hear that pregnant women are using marijuana because they're afraid to stop, why did you take it every day? What made you think to take it every day? These are drugs, and they're unstudied drugs, and they have pesticides and other contaminants that could be in them, especially if you're smoking. They could even be laced with fentanyl. We don't want our pregnant women smoking. We don't want men trying to be fertile to smoke or use. And if you are using it before you're pregnant, that could have effects. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE-40.
Hey guys, it's Dr. Daliah. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our Fantasy Football Pocket Guide for Beginners found on Amazon, or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Now, don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians, only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to the Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X, Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. All right. So it looks like Vice President Kamala Harris is up to bat. We do not have any confirmation that obviously she would be the Democratic Convention nominee or the nominee that is crowned at the Democratic Convention. But it looks like she is figuratively up to bat. All eyes on her. And so Democrats, Republicans now have to decide, will she do the job? Is she the best person the Democrats could come up with? Is she the most versed on policy and, has the most experience? Does she have more experience than Gavin Newsom, et cetera? And so I'm a little nervous about what's going to happen for a variety of reasons. And I think we're going to be hearing a lot of back and forth. Well, this is Trump against a woman, or and so to answer the question, and I'm asking you all, do you think Kamala Harris could do the job as it pertains to health care infrastructure, as it pertains to the border, as it pertains to the economy, as it pertains to being a force that our foreign enemies don't want to reckon with, right? And so, can she do the job? My answer would be, well, one, what has she done? And two, what job would it be? I am very lenient when it comes to understanding what restrictions you are given as a vice president. Now, I know they made her border czar. She did nothing. But was that all her fault? Okay. If you made me border czar, and I've said this before, and you said, Dr. Daliah, you're going to be border czar. As my VP, you're border czar. I'd be like, don't waste time talking to me. I'm going down to the border. I would go to the border. I would meet everybody. I would go to multiple parts of the border. I would take pictures. I would bring footage. I would say, guys, what do you need? You tell me what you need. I am going to take it back to Biden, and I'm going to make sure you have what you need, because you guys are frontline. You are boots on the ground. Your safety is at risk. We have migrant health issues that and their safety of a concern. We got cartel and foreign elements, fentanyl. We're going to fix this. It's not going to be overnight, but I'm here day one, and I'm going to come back every week if I have to, because what other job am I given? I got nothing better to do. I'm border czar, and I'm going to do this right. In Kamala Harris's defense, do you think Biden would let her bring a list that basically reverses everything? What if her list included go back to building the wall that Trump wanted? There was no way. There was no way anybody in the Biden administration would let her do that. Now, she has, the border crisis is on a lot of people's minds, especially with the recent rapes and killings and some of the elements that have in wolves and sheep's clothing come in either as gotaways, snuck in, or came in among families that are seeking refuge. And so she could say, look, I did want to do X, Y, and Z. They wouldn't let me. So I agree we need a wall. I agree we need to have better stay in Mexico policies or other sorts of policies because our hospitals are overwhelmed and all that. This is what I wanted, and the Biden administration would not back me. She's not going to say that. And so all she could do is double down and so it is concerning, because technically her main job, being border czar, didn't get done. In terms of what she's been able to do from an economy standpoint, she was a DA, and there was a lot of backstory to that and other ways about how she ascended. But has she really been on the economy? Has she really been, shall we say, from a foreign policy standpoint, very involved? Now, they did early on, year one, they did have her go down to other countries like Mexico and I think Costa Rica, and I forget all the ones she went to, in terms of talking to their leaders about the border crisis. Nothing came of it. but she admitted she had never been to Europe. And so from a foreign policy standpoint, she doesn't seem to be very, shall we say, experienced. So when people say, well, you have Gavin Newsom, who could do a really good job, people like him, he's handsome, he's well-spoken, but they say, but he wasn't in the Biden administration, so he doesn't have foreign policy. He doesn't have that experience. Well, it's still more than Kamala Harris. But there is no way that the Democrats will tell a woman to still step aside and take a back seat to another white male. They're not going to do that. That's going to be a very bad look. They're going to have to give Kamala her date in the sun. She is leading in a couple polls, even though before all this happened, Trump had an easier time of beating her. In the polls, it was, she was doing worse than Biden. And in fact, if you remember the Democratic primary, she was one of the first to leave, and she was not very well liked. Well, now people are changing their tune. They're like, well, she's younger. She, has some charisma, even though the word salads and the cackling don't really fit well for others. She's a lot more charismatic than Biden. She still can speak fuller sentences than Biden could. And she has that youth factor, and she has the legal and the DA and so I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up emerging as the Democratic candidate, the Democratic primary candidate. But can she do the job? Again, what is the job we need her to do? We don't have a lot of faith. So now these next, we have 107 days, 106 days, not a lot of time. And if I were her, if I were Kamala, I would get stuff done. And I would be vocal about it. And I would say, we're building the wall. Let's resume the wall. Let's give the border agents what they need. She actually could turn this around for the Democrats. If she, as opposed to saying, I'm just going to follow what Biden did, to, I'm going to do what he didn't. And I'm going to fix our healthcare infrastructure. I'm going to cut the spending. We're not going to do wasteful spending. There's a lot that she could do, but she kind of needs, the problem is that the convention isn't till August. This is, not really been a common thing in politics where there's this disarray. The convention can't come soon enough now for Democrats because they need to know who they're going to be behind and who they're going. Right now it's been a Biden-Harris ticket. I think they received about 50 million in donations after Biden resigned for Kamala Harris. So if she's the one getting the money, they're probably going to have to double down on her. Can she get the job done in terms of getting elected? Well, again, what's the job? Is the job to just get a Democrat in office so it helps preserve the Supreme Court for the Democrats and other things? Then she could possibly do it. But the next remaining 100-some days are going to be so crucial. And she is going to have to either just follow on Biden's footsteps, whose policies were not doing well. One of the reasons why he was flailing in the polls wasn't so much him and the gaffes. He was struggling in the polls even before the media finally felt like they could talk about it. It was the policies. So she's going to have to show a reversal of some of the policies. She's going to have to say she listened. She's going to have to say she was restricted. What she wanted to do with the border was not going to be allowed, and now she's going to do it. Now, she has to do that without ripping on Biden, because that's not a good look. But she could say, look, I have funding now. This is what I could do. This is what they need done, in light of the rapes and women being attacked and killed and strangled and fentanyl. And in light of what's going on, we're going to have a much better system that helps the refugees, but doesn't allow this rampant, taking advantage of the system and reckless endangerment that our border policies are now causing. And she could do that. And she could probably win over Democrats. All she has to do is reverse her stance on a couple of the complete clusters that Biden did. And she could actually, do a lot better than people think. But she's going to have to do that. If she's going to be like, no, I just support what Biden did because I don't know what I'm doing, that's not going to go far. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Hot Shot Secret Stiction Eliminator.
Stiction, that sticky friction, undermines the performance of diesel engines. Third-party ASTM testing verifies that Stiction Eliminator removes 2 times as much stiction than any alternative on the retail shelf. Stiction Eliminator is formulated to be left in the engine oil. It works as you drive.
Available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret. Powered by science.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOCDALI. For those of you still traveling, yes, there are still delays. The cluster and a half that happened with the software that had to do with the Microsoft CrowdStrike software update is still causing chaos in the skies. A lot of flights are still delayed. We're being told that today, 20% of Delta's flights have been canceled. That's still a lot in terms of their fleet. 25% of their flights on delay. So if you remember on Friday, there were 5,100 flights canceled, 3,400 that were in and out of the United States alone, with 12,896 delays. On Saturday, cancellations dropped to 2,100, 9,100 delays. Yesterday, it bumped up with 2,000 cancellations and 10,500 delays. Today, and I know it's just kind of the start, about 4,000 delays and 972 flights canceled. So for those of you trying to get back, I understand it's a cluster and a seventh. Somebody told me that Southwest Airlines did not have the same software, and their outdated version saved them. Now, I can't confirm that, but apparently Southwest Airlines was able to still maintain their flights despite everything going on. While other airlines canceled multiple flights Southwest. Now, they say the outage did not directly affect their operations, but I think JetBlue didn't have a lot of issues. So, this is an FAA issue. We've had a lot of issues with our Department of Transportation. I'm not really sure what Pete Buttigieg is doing on the topic. I'm not saying it's his fault, but boy, have there been a lot of issues, especially with the FAA. And so I really hope they get their acts together. From what I understand, hospitals still scrambling for those that are having issues with their software. Most of them should be back online by now, but keep in mind that not a good day to get sick if there's still issues. Again, just assume your nearest hospital can still help you, still get the care you need, but we should have never been in that situation where we were that vulnerable. So I hope we can learn from this. But software updates make me nervous because I have a perfectly working phone, perfectly working computer. It says I need to update, so we need to stop everything, update it, let it shut down. And I'm like, but what if it doesn't come back on? I don't like updates. I understand they need to be done. If I ever bought an electric car, the updates are, I guess, a part of that as well. But I'm like, I better have a backup system. And we all need backup systems. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So a lot of you have been on vacations, and you're about to leave on vacations, and hopefully the airlines starts to, those flights start to catch up again. But the one thing I am seeing a lot of is these vacation hotspots aren't all that are hyped, that they're hyped up to be. And I am hearing many people spend a lot of money to go to a place around the world that is, really, that's it. And so I think it's called Amphotoxic, and a Reddit user kicked off the discussion by what travel destination is nothing like it was portrayed on social media. And so I hear this from people with the Mona Lisa. They get to Paris, they pay the tickets for the Louvre, they do the lines, and then they could barely see the Mona Lisa. It's 8 by 11 roughly in size, like a sheet of notebook paper. To me, I would still want to see it. But there's long lines. You could barely get up to it to take a picture. When you do, there's not a lot of time. And it's a lot to get to see the Mona Lisa. Now, the Louvre is apparently incredible. I've missed out twice because when I got there, they were sold out. So I guess you have to get your tickets weeks in advance and days. Even I tried to buy them days in advance. Not enough. You got to get them weeks in advance. And so I missed out on seeing all the amazing art, etc. But these are things where people get a little concerned. Times Square. I love Times Square. Many people feel that Times Square is overrated. I wouldn't. I would still say go to Times Square. Be safe. Understand there's been some people getting punched and stabbings and other things that have happened. But Times Square, being as iconic as it is, from the old buildings to, I still think it's worth seeing. I think New York City is worth seeing. I really do. Understand, though, it's going to be very expensive. You won't be able to park anywhere. So take cabs. It's going to make sure you understand that it's going to be expensive. So know where to eat. Don't eat at the tourist traps. Okay. You want to find the pizza that the locals go to, or the Chinese food that the locals go to, etc. But yeah, I understand that it seems more impressive in person. I loved the Eiffel Tower, and people were very disappointed in the Eiffel Tower. And here's why. I loved it. I thought the Eiffel Tower was absolutely incredible. It was everything I expected it to be. But what I did not like was it was very hot that day, and the lines were ridiculous. And when you're there, to get on the elevator, to be able to go up and then go back down, it's about an hour and a half. It was at the time an hour and a half wait. So you could literally spend all day on that. The idea that you could go up in it and go back down, no. Same thing with the Empire State Building in New York. There's lines. The Statue of Liberty. Statue of Liberty is a must-see, but apparently it's changed. I did a tour where you got to actually go up right before the crown, so you could see the crown in the windows. I heard they cut that off. So you can't, not the crown, but that part of the tour, you can't go up as high. And so when you have to take the ferry and you're in the lines, so just know what you're up against. If you think, Washington, D.C. spoils us. Washington, D.C. is amazing in that it's free. You could go into the Smithsonian for free. You could see the Lincoln Memorial, the Washington Monument, and they're out in the open. So Washington, D.C., you could walk right up into the Lincoln Memorial. the Jefferson Memorial, the Washington Memorial. In fact, one thing that I saw people do at night, which is, I have to do this again. This was so much fun. So with the Washington Memorial, you saw people lie on their back with their feet up against the Washington Memorial. They weren't putting their feet on the Washington Memorial, but they were, and when you do that, because of the optical illusion, it looks like a plank that's straight in front of you. It's very cool. And so I took a picture of that and I posted that on Facebook. And then when my friend went to DC, I said, you got to do that. You could go right up to the Washington Memorial. It's beautiful. I hope that never changes. I love the idea. White House, much different. Now there's a street and there's more blockage because, in the 90s, you could go right up to the fence. But DC, I think you get what you expect. But a lot of these other places, no, you could, so my advice is if you're going to make a trip, make sure you're not going for the one thing. Medjugorje in, was it Bosnia or no, Serbia, near Croatia, to do the pilgrimage. Amazingly worth it. Amazing from what I'm understanding, but it's very, very hot. And so read and study and plan ahead so you don't get disappointed, because I think there's still a lot out there that's worth seeing. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away.
Considered by most, optimized curcumin is one of the few bioavailable and highly absorbable curcumin products on the market. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch. Since most chronic diseases have inflammation, our optimized curcumin seems to be a perfect addition to any nutritional program. It makes sense to me that preventing or reducing inflammation is a key component to our overall health. The Mayo Clinic found that curcumin can decrease swelling and inflammation, has antioxidant properties, and research suggests that curcumin can prevent cancer, or at least slow the spread of cancer, and in many instances make chemotherapy more effective. It protects our healthy cells even from radiation. TotalWellness.com, where we help you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH, 1-877-DOCDALI. So it has become apparent that artificial intelligence is going to replace a lot of our careers, especially doctors. I know it. I see it. Another study has come out saying artificial intelligence is outpacing doctors when it comes to detecting common cancer. For prostate cancer, they said in this new study from UCLA that AI, a tool using AI, was able to identify prostate cancer with 84% accuracy compared to 67% accuracy for cases detected by physicians, according to a press release from the university. Unfold AI, made by Avenda Health in California, which is, according to Fox News, a software recently cleared by the U.S. FDA, uses an AI algorithm to visualize the likelihood of cancer based on various types of clinical data. In the study, a team of 7 urologists and 3 radiologists analyzed 50 cases where tumors had been removed, looking for signs of residual cancer. A few months later, the AI software performed the same analysis. The negative margin rate, it's a term we use to say there's no cells in the surrounding removed tissue. So if we cut out cancer, if it extends to and beyond the margin, that means we didn't cut it all out. But if we see that we got a margin, whether it's a millimeter or a centimeter around the area, so it's called the margin rate. They found that it was 45 times greater in AI detected cases, which means the chances of cancer being left behind is far less. Dr. Kasrayan, a urologist at Kasrayan Urology in Jacksonville, Florida, says he uses Unfold AI technology in his consultations with patients about managing their prostate cancer. He says the AI takes the information that we currently have about the patient's prostate cancer, like their pathology, imaging, and biopsy results, creates a 3D cancer estimation map. The results we get from Unfold AI tell us if a patient will be better suited for focal therapy versus more radical therapy like a prostatectomy or radiation therapy, ensuring we optimize their cancer cure, personalize their cancer care, and the quality of life goals, which I agree with. I agree with this. Based on the findings, they say AI could lead to more accurate diagnoses, more targeted treatments, reducing the need for full gland removal, and the side effects that could come with it. So, one PhD had prostate cancer himself. His name is Joshua Trakenberg. He's a professor of neurobiology at UCLA. Doctors found a slow-growing tumor on his prostate. They recommended removing the gland surgically, but he decided to explore other options. He got in touch with a team at UCLA, where he's a faculty member, that was looking at alternative treatments. He's 56 years old, so he's young for prostate cancer. Then they tested this approach that uses ultrasound to heat tissue that is focally guided by MRI to destroy the cancerous tissue without damaging the rest of the gland. And he was found to be a candidate for this experimental therapy. There was a 3D map that was created by the AI, which enabled his team to identify precise margins, target the cancerous area, and avoid any functional structures of the gland. So he felt that this was the better way to go. Now, it's fascinating. It sounds amazing, but AI is dependent on the data it receives. And if the data is limited, its interpretation or prediction will be limited. And there's a big push to replace doctors because of the cost. Well, AI could tell you if it's strep. AI could do this. And doctors are kind of at fault for this because many of them don't examine patients anymore. So a patient comes in going, I want a Z-Pak. They're like, why do you want a Z-Pak? Well, I have bronchitis. Okay, if that's what you want, fine, next patient. Okay, well, most bronchitises are viral. Is the Z-Pak really going to work? Is there going to be resistance? Are they going to be at risk for an abnormal heart rhythm? That's what a doctor's supposed to do. And some of them aren't doing that. I've seen some real half-assed stuff that doctors are doing. So no wonder people want to make sure that there's technology to back them up. Seeing mistakes that are made by providers. But there's still something that we providers have that AI can't do, is instinct. I cannot tell you how many times what I was given was wrong. And I was like, something's not right. I think you have a different diagnosis. And I think that intuition, that sixth sense, that experience you have is vital. And AI, people will argue, well, it has experience because the data put it. So it already catches up in terms of experience. I don't know. Now, I told you we had that patient who was a smoker, was having some coughing that was persisting. I did a chest x-ray on him, and he had a big, huge mass in his upper left lobe of the lung. And he was ready. He said, you know what, doc, if I have lung cancer, just let me, and I brought him over with me to look at the x-ray. And he was like, you know what, just let me know so I could load the gun and I could just end it now. And I'm like, no, that's stupid. No, not happening. I go, I'm not getting a vibe that this is, going to kill you. this could be a fungal ball. It just looks too cute to be cancer. Cancer's ugly. This just looks too round. I'm just not getting that vibe. Will you, before you decide to do anything stupid, will you please get yourself checked out? Let's get a definitive diagnosis of this. Get it treated, knocked out of the ballpark. It's a ball, so we should be able to bat this sucker out of the ballpark. And then from there, you could decide if you think, that there's nothing medicine could do for you. He had the doctor that we sent him to. He actually made the doctor angry. And the doctor said, I need to remove your lung. We need to do chemotherapy, radiation therapy. We need to do all sorts of stuff. And he said, no, don't. It could be a fungal ball. Nope. So the doctor calls me up. This is the specialist going, excuse me? This patient is crazy. He thinks this is a fungal ball. And so he doesn't want to do the treatment I'm recommending. And I told him not to kill himself because among the differential, this could be a fungal ball, and to get it checked out. Can you at least biopsy it or remove it? All right. Give us the diagnosis and then decide on what therapy you're going to do. He's like, of course. Guess what? It was a fungal ball. It was fungus. And so, I don't know if AI would have figured that out. We had a woman come in saying, I have asthma, I need a refill, I have my inhaler, I have asthma. AI could say, fine, she's young, she has asthma, she's had benefits from this inhaler. I was like, I don't think you have asthma. Something's not right. I checked her heart, checked her lungs. I didn't think the heart was normal, even though the EKG said normal. So I went and did a chest x-ray. Heart looked a little funny. I sent her to the heart doctor. She had a tumor on her heart. She never had asthma. So if you could tell me that AI will go against the grain and say, you know what? We need to stop for a second. I want to think about this, and I want to make sure we're not missing something. I'm going to support us using it. But if AI is going to be fed all the, we're only going to start colonoscopies at age 50, and black men are going to be treated the same as white men. And as I had said, we need to screen black men sooner because they could have more aggressive colon cancer, prostate cancer. If AI is not being fed what it needs to be fed, it could be wrong. And then what can they feed it that could hurt us? Well, they're over 75. So we're going to make recommendations because they're over 75 years old. If I had breast cancer when I'm 75, I would still like a chance at life. So I think it's going to be very helpful in finding things that doctors are missing. But I'm still cautious. 1-877-Daliah.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.